I'm Elizabeth Ketzner-Bloom, and I'm the Director of Development and Administration for the Compass Experience, and I am here with John Hobbs. Hi.
Hey,
Thank you for being here.
Absolutely.
I wanted to bring you on our series, our little journey here, to kind of discuss all of the different things that are happening, maybe not happening newly, but are being exposed, if you will. A lot of the scandals where people in power or people in positions that you would think are, you know, really moral and ethical and great leaders of the community are being found out to have exploited and abused children in a lot of ways. And I know that you have had your own personal experience with that. Yep. And you're also doing a film. Could you just share about that with me and kind of talk about what your film is?
Yeah, sure. Well, first of all, again, glad to be here and help and just any way I can. But working on a documentary called Scouts Honor documentary, and it's kind of a lot of different things about the childhood sexual abuse scandal going on with the Boy Scouts of America here nationally, and specifically on kind of my experience and how that's interwoven into my working experience at the organization, and multifaceted points of that over a very long time, and lots of different layers and people and things that were involved with my experience both as a youth and then also later as an adult, and kind of the falling out of that, which is still happening currently today.
Would you feel comfortable sharing kind of a little bit about what your experience was as a youth? And
Sure. Yeah, so as a youth, I was kind of a star scout, if you will, or kind of the leader of our particular troop out in the Blue Springs, Lee Summit community of Kansas City, and basically was groomed by a guy named Dr. Joseph Mackey, and he basically brought me up to kind of be his guy, if you will, and whatnot, and slowly started doing things that ultimately led to him abusing me hundreds of times, and then did a very crafty job to continue to cover that up for years with the assistance of the organization. And while the abuse has ended, certainly the ramifications of that still continue to this day, and certainly with the National Boy Scouts of America bankruptcy, which is right in the heart of it right now, and just kind of getting to the beginning of all those stages.
Wow. You were talking about how it had gone on hundreds of times with the help of the organization to cover that up.
That's correct. Yeah.
Do you feel that, because from my personal experience, I always thought when people mentioned, like, you know, Scouts Honor,
Right.
or, you know, he's like a Boy Scout,
Right.
you kind of pair that with morality and honor and
Right.
ethical behavior and like a stand-up citizen.
Yep.
How is that? Do you feel that this is not unique to your story?
Yeah, definitely, and there's a story of another gentleman on the Kansas side here that had a similar kind of very long-standing traumatic issue named Danny Shore, who ultimately took his life, which is really sad at 37, and so that's a big reason why I've really come to speak out about this. Obviously, it's been happening, you know, to multiple thousands of kids across the country and youth, and going back into the 60s, and there's, you know, blatant evidence on how they handled these and would not, you know, do certain things or remove people right away and all these things. So my experience kind of intertwines in an interesting crossroads where they started doing different things, but at the end of the day it was all still to cover kind of themselves from a liability and financial responsibility to victims. Yeah.
Okay, so I think we can agree that these behaviors, these traumatic, it almost feels like this has been going on far longer than people might even realize, and
Sure.
it's just more about the exposure.
That's right. Yep.
Things are coming to light. People are getting platforms to speak up.
For sure.
People are being encouraged by the public. I think the communities that are feeling like the hit, like a lot of the local organizations probably are, even with your story, people within the communities are feeling empowered to speak out about their own exploitation and things like that. Do you think like you probably have a unique perspective as far as what those scandals, does that encourage you or does that make you feel more disheartened?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's kind of multifaceted on that. I mean, it certainly encourages me to speak out, just like lots of very important social, movements of today, like Black Lives Matter and, things like that, where, finally people are embracing and making these changes that need to be changed and standing on the platforms they have. So I do feel very humbled to be able to do that. I think that the thing is about the change is that it comes in a very slow way, just like, anything. And I think that's what's difficult is kind of moving the iceberg, if you will, is very difficult because sometimes it's what you can see but also what you can't see, and these organizations kind of are multi entwined into that too, because it's what they know they want to protect, but also what they don't realize the harm they're doing with the actions or inactions that they're taking at the time. So it's a kind of an interwoven thing that's hard to kind of unravel, except for just being persistent and like I said in the Boy Scouts of America example, the bankruptcy hopefully is a good start to that kind of process.
Right. So as far as what Compass does with our leadership, our vetting process is not just, do you want to work with youth?
Right.
We have background checks that do pick up if there's been any violent crime or felony or anything that would involve an offender status of any kind.
Right.
We also have typically worked with people that have already also been vetted by the school district that we're partnering with. And we also, just for living above reproach, we don't ever have a leader alone with a child, a student. There's always a group or a multiple leaders and multiple students, so that there's not even an opportunity for it to go either way, saying that anything was done, or an opportunity that anything could be done if we somehow missed something, a red flag.
For sure. Yeah.
I do believe that is kind of all we're able to do in our own power, but as far as protecting with our hiring process and who we choose, because I think we know now how impressionable, how important it is to have that mentor-model relationship for a student.
For sure.
But we also want to be so careful with who we put in that position, because we don't want anyone else's agenda to overshadow, taint, corrupt what we're trying to do. We want to ensure that their mission is also our mission, and that we're ultimately impacting the student in a positive way to where they're impacting their family and they're impacting the community in a positive way simultaneously.
For sure. Yeah.
So do you believe that if you have integrity-filled leaders, and some transparency, and they're really trying to teach emotional intelligence, show what is and isn't appropriate, what boundaries look like, healthy boundaries in a workplace, but also in a way that if you're in a position with an organization or at school or at work, you know what is and isn't okay. You know yourself and your value enough to know when something has overstepped. Do you think that that's a skill that could help prevent?
Oh, 100%, and that's what Compass does so glowingly and incredibly. That's unseen anywhere else that I would say that I'm aware of, and that is so important, and it's so important because it gives them that foundation that they can move forward on when the times might get tough or something weird could be happening, and they can stand up and speak to it, as opposed to it's all kind of so intertwined, that they don't have that understanding. So I think, and it's also having multiple mentors, right? And kind of making that spread out, so where there's lots of different people giving good positive influence, and then it's not just one or two, where it kind of becomes, that's when the path goes down to, to potential bad acts, if you will. So yeah, that's what, Compass does just a great job of doing, and I just think it's wonderful.
With all of the things that it's kind of overwhelming to think about all of the aspects that you want to be able to fix and address and like expose. But what I've recognized, I mean, choice theory. So we only have control over what we have control over, and we can only choose certain things for us within our sphere of influence, and there's other things that fall outside of our control, right?
Absolutely.
So I think that we can all agree that this is something that needs to be addressed, right? And certain people and certain organizations and businesses are going to have more resources and influence and sway to be able to do that.
Correct.
So would you say that if we want to see change, we need to be proactive about it in a preventative way? And do you think that even if it isn't in a global scale or even a international or national scale, even if it is just in a few communities right now, do you think that it would be worthwhile to partner with an organization like Compass, or with Compass specifically, to be able to raise up these leaders and teach them about themselves, teach them about what is appropriate, what is acceptable, and then what they're able to control and what to do when things get out of control?
Yeah, 100%. And I think, just for sake of it, I mean, I think Compass platform model should be in every school district in the country, because it's such a great thing that can be launched on, and it has lots of different people that they can involve in, and so you don't see one organization like just over like seeing it. Like Compass helps like be kind of like the set of like the tools of like how to get there, as opposed to like encompassing everything, and that's a really good place. So trying to like kind of like be in the lane of helping kids develop, but not like making everything they do about a monopoly, like everything they do about that specific organization. Like that's what got them to their leadership development is through a Compass experience, but that is something that they will always be able to kind of use those skill sets and move in anything, in any career they get to in life.
So for Compass, I think we recognize what our influence is. We recognize that we have resource, we have a little bit more sway than an individual would, right?
Right, absolutely.
And we want to use that to address the epidemic. We called it an epidemic. Yes,
yeah.
yes, absolutely. Yeah. So I know that we can't heal everybody. I know that we can't fix what's already been done, but I think we can agree that if we teach them what is okay, if we teach them the way to get help when you are in a situation, the way to avoid when they are in a business, sexual harassment, and things like that, make it applicable to all aspects of their world. We can be a part of a source root solution instead of a Band-Aid, and trying to, instead of being complicit, really standing out and saying, this is where it's not okay, and we're not going to allow anyone to say that that's going to continue with anyone that we partner with, youth organization wise. We're going to be vetting those people. We're going to be careful with what we put our children, our students, our youth in and around. And I think that's kind of how we address this, right? Or prevent it from perpetuating over and over. And I think ultimately what I want to say is, I think we had this conversation previously, that it is much easier to raise up a child that is well-balanced, knows themselves, knows their worth, and is happy, healthy, well-rounded, than it is to try to heal a broken adult. Yeah,
no, 100%. And I think that's what finally, Compass and people are starting to see, that they're addressing the root of the problem, the source, the base of the issue, which a lot of times is that, because, again, they're, putting the model in place and moving, the youth from each individual grade, but like I said, not trying to solve everything, about their life, just trying to focus on what they can influence and change. And, and if it means that they're, moving from one business to another, and they, have a friend who's over here, it's okay, as opposed to just being one encompassing kind of organization. That is just solely trying to kind of move their own needle, if you will. So that's such an important thing.
There's a common theme that is seeing personal responsibility as a key part in being a source root solution to a lot of the things that seem to be ongoing and plaguing our communities. We believe that if we instill that value in our students now, that when it's their turn to assume a position of power and leadership, that they're not going to be abusing it. And make sure you check out John's film. Where can we find that?
Yeah, so the film can be found on Scouts Honor documentary Facebook page is the best way to find it. You can also find the GoFundMe out there as well if you just Google Scouts Honor -documentary, and appreciate any support. We're looking forward to getting that in the marketplace, hopefully in the next handful of months into the year, into next year, we'll see.
All right, thank you.
Yeah, thank you.